Some nice, slow, relaxing. All right, welcome. We'll give people a few minutes to shuffle on in. Welcome. So, another season. We made it to season 2. That's pretty good. Yes, you know, in the last little while, just jumping on periodically, we take advantage of, I do it to bring in new people and expose the channel, I suppose. But we've had some live shows recently that were well in excess, you know, of 10,000 people. It doesn't always seem, because, you know, you might see only 15, 20, sometimes more at a time, but it's a constant turnover. You know, with this social media stuff, and think of yourself when you're streaming or scrolling through the streams, you know, you tend to, we all don't have a lot of, like, our attention spans aren't what they, right? So, you know, it's kind of like, what have you done for me in the last 58 seconds or 26 seconds, and on they go, right? So it is a different way. It is a different kind of media, I suppose, but it is what it is. Hi, Barb. How are you? Hello from Connecticut. Nice. Connecticut. Try to spell that. Wow. That and Massachusetts. Massachusetts and Connecticut. Tough to spell. I think Connecticut's a little easier, but Arkansas, the Razorbacks. Gotta love those hogs. Jacksonville, nice. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, nice. Jacksonville, we got it covered here. I was looking at analytics, and yeah, the overwhelming majority of the people, USA, Canada's pretty close behind, so North America in general, but USA for sure. And then I think the next one is the UK. But the difference is quite a bit. Like, we're talking, you know, Canada, US makes up of, I would say, probably 70% of the viewers. And then it goes down from there. The other, say, 30% is split up between all kinds of countries. But there's some real cool ones. Vietnam, Sri Lanka, you know. There's been some ones way off the beaten path. So, all right, so we are back for, again, another season. So what we're going to do is time slot every Thursday. It's going to be all things guitar, and I'm going to post, I'd like to introduce to you or tell you about the community tab. Now, I know everybody's view is different depending on if you're on your phone or your laptop or whatever, but there is a tab, I think, on all channels, and it says community. And if you go to that tab, what you're going to see, hopefully, if you don't, let me know, but you should see a poll. It's a few of you have answered the poll. It's really helpful for me. There's only 3 questions. That's it. Is there 4? No, I think there's like 3 questions. And it's a yes or no. And it really helps me kind of figure out what the audience here, where you're at with your guitar playing. As you can imagine, it's almost impossible to cater to every time. So I tend to pick sort of subjects that we specialize in week to week. Now, I've added a beginner show as well. So this is all things guitar. We're going to talk, we're going to talk about keys and chords and songs, learning songs, and hopefully some things that'll help you speed up that process. So we're going to talk about that today. It'll be a couple of subjects different, right? Yeah, exactly, Larry. And that's what we're going to talk about that today. Okay. Just after, just want to go over what we're doing in general here in this slot. Now, for those of you just starting out, or maybe you played a long time ago and you're kind of dusting yourself off again, or noodling around, you bought a guitar, you've been noodling around for a few months, not really getting anywhere, or don't think you're getting anywhere. A lot of times you don't think you are, but you are. Join me Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. Everybody, all shows, of course. But on Tuesdays at 2, we're going to go all the way back to the basics, right? Strings, basic things, tuning the guitar, playing basic chords, a few chords together in the pursuit of playing your first song, right? And as you all know, or should know by now, I'm all about non-professional aspiring guitar players, okay? And especially those started late in life. Our journey has to be a different strategic pattern than someone who is, say, in their teens or their 20s and saying, you know what? I'm going to dedicate, hi Dan, I'm going to dedicate myself to this because in a few years, I want to be playing in bands. I want to be a session musician. I want to be a hired gun. I want to record my own music. I want to be a pro tour. I want to do all that stuff. Okay, nothing wrong with that. But your learning path is going to be different to ours. People that start in their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, their 70s, and yeah, even their 80s. Our journey is different. Why? We don't have any aspirations to play professionally here, okay? And you've heard me say this so many times. I can drive a car. That doesn't mean I'm going to go and race in the Indianapolis 500, okay? Or it doesn't mean I'm going to be able to take the engine apart and identify every part in my engine. All I need to know is what? Where does the key go? Where does the gas go? Where's the brake pedal? Where's the gas pedal? Where's the gear shift lever, right? And how does it all work? And what do I do, and how do I use all those things to drive my car so I could go to work every day, or I could go to the store, or wherever? All right, so let's look at the guitar the same way, okay? Remember, we don't need to know all these complex things in order to sit down and play this amazing instrument, play some of our favorite songs, amaze our friends, and you know what? Give yourself satisfaction of really doing something. I mean, it's something that you can be proud of if you learn how to play even this. Okay? Hi, Max. That's not easy to do, especially at first. It will get easier, and for a lot of you out there, it's simple because you're past that, right? So join me Tuesdays to take a look at some of the basics. Let's go back to the basics. Thursdays, which is today, I'm assuming that you've already got, like, you can play songs, you can play chords, you even play a few bar chords, you might even know some scales. You might know one scale. You might know 40 scales. You might be in a band. You might be writing your own songs. But you're always looking for more, right? And sometimes, I know, I've been playing for a long time, and there's still things I scratch my head and go, what is that? And I got to really look at it, analyze it, tear it apart. And sometimes it helps to have someone really explain it in an idiot's way, okay? Because that's me, and that was me learning. Okay, so if you like what I'm doing, if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways you can do that. Okay, of course, you can subscribe. Now, if you subscribe, and I think the bell thing too, but I'm not sure how that bell thing works with live shows. If you subscribe, it will be notified of all my live shows. Now, I'm not going to just be here 2 days a week. The 2 days a week are the structured things that we're going to talk about. Okay, and every week will be a topic. But I still come on because I enjoy it and during the week, and I just might have you can watch me practice, right? You can see how I practice. You might, one day I turned it on when I was learning a song because of a gig I had to do. I had to learn a certain song. I just turned my camera on and you guys all sat there and watched me learn this song and through the process. And some of you mentioned that, wow, I didn't realize, like, yeah, that's how you do it, right? Okay. So it doesn't mean, and sometimes I just come on and play songs. Okay. Now those get deleted right away because of copyright issues, but yeah, so, it's just that the Tuesdays um, at 2 and the Thursdays at 3 are going to be throughout the winter mainstays. Each one will have a topic. So if you want to support the channel, please hit subscribe. Okay. Now you can also, whenever I post videos, it seems to help if someone comments. So if you go like the basic comments, like, hey, thanks a lot, that's good info, or you know what, you suck, whatever. If you comment, it seems to help, and it seems to show YouTube or tell YouTube that this might be of an interesting topic, so we're going to send it out to people. So that helps by just liking and commenting. Commenting is more important for some reason, but again, I might be wrong. In fact, there's probably people out there right now that know. Hi, Randy. How are you? There's people out there right now that know or probably know more about how this whole YouTube thing works than me, because I don't know much about it. Okay, I just plug in and here I am. So that, and of course, if you really want to go out of your way and be a superstar, there is a link. You can buy me a coffee, which is basically a way of contributing to the channel. And I mean, there are expense things, believe it or not, and that all helps. None of it is mandatory. Any of them are appreciative, but again, I'm here regardless, okay? So thanks for listening to all that. I do want that you check out that community tab, all right? Oh, T. James, on all channels have it, but on mine, because there is a poll there that I would like you to answer. There's 3 questions. Yes, I think it's something like that, or there's multiple choice answers, and it helps me determine where you're all at with your guitar playing. That way I can put together things that I feel would be of interest to you, right? Because we have now coming up to 6,000 subscribers. We get, sometimes anywhere from 6 to 15, 16,000 people attend a live show. So it's hard for me to really, to know, who wants what and benefit from what, right? So, all right. Also, lastly, on the community tab, I'll be posting the subject of that show. So if it's something that, you don't really need or want to know about, and maybe we're going to put yourself out to come and join, at least you have an idea, right? And what we're going to talk about. And on the other side of things, if it's something that you've always wanted to know more about and you had questions, then you know to be here for sure, okay? Stephen, this is really, really weird because this has never happened before. And I've had a couple of comments. Okay, before mentioning this, and it's never happened until the last couple. So I'm wondering, I don't think I've changed any settings anywhere. So I definitely would have to look at my service provider to make sure there's been no change. But in the meantime, okay, the screen freezes. All right, so okay. Okay, there's not much I can do at this second because I would have to log off to do it. But I think from here on out, yeah, okay, so I think there's probably things going on here. I think some of it depends on the people and where you are and what's happening. But even so, that doesn't mean that it's your fault, because I have had this, as I said, recently. So moving forward, I'm probably going to move the production to this from one gizmo to another, where I can directly. I'm not directly wired into the internet here. I'm using what is supposed to. Well, Stephen, I've got 20 gigabits per second or megabits per second. I can't remember which one it is. I've got 20, and generally for streaming, I mean, you really don't need more than a few. Right? So definitely rest assured, guys, I'm sorry for the inconvenience right now, but I will definitely make the necessary changes. And I think the issue is probably in the Wi-Fi situation. I am Wi-Fi today, as opposed to being hardwired. Okay? So if we could bear with it just for today, and I'll definitely fix that up. All right, so on the community tab today, not only did I post a general, hey, we're back with the guitar show, but I also posted an image, a guitar chart, a chord chart, and I want to talk about that today, all right? Because Stephen, I'm not using a computer for this. I'm using a phone. Okay, I've been using a phone for quite some time. I've never had any issues. So I'm using a phone on local Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is right here. Okay. So I'm going to try different things, but I think moving on, whenever possible, I will play or I will broadcast hardwired to the internet. So I have a feeling it's something to do with Wi-Fi, and that may or may not improve or get. So I'll just ask for your patience today, and hopefully the recording, will be a lot smoother. Okay, so you could watch this in playback, and it will be. So yeah, again, normally wireless, I haven't had an issue. Those of you that have the last year watching shows, it generally is okay. But just recently, there's been some comments about that. Right? Okay, Piyush, join me Tuesdays, o'clock North American time. Okay? I do a beginner show, and although you will learn from some of the stuff today is going to be good for you, but Tuesdays at 2, we go through exactly that. We take it all to the beginning. So if you want, in the meantime, if you go through my library, there's some great videos that will help you, but write some questions down and come and see me Tuesday at 2. And we have a beginner show. All right, so the chart that I uploaded today in the community tab. Again, keep an eye on my community tab. Gonna have interesting things posted here and there instead of going through shorts all the time. Stuff that I want to get information to you. So you'll see that there's a chord chart, and what it does, it's a great chart to have. I think you can download it or print it out or however you want to use it. It's a great chart to have because it shows you exactly what we're going to talk about today. It shows you the keys and within the key and whether those chords are major and minor. Now, I've talked about this a little bit before. I'm just going to do a quickie on it. All chords are numbered in a key. Okay, so if we have, say, the key of C, then the 6 chords that are in that, there are more, but the 6 relevant chords that we're going to use as guitar players more often than not, what it does is it lists the 1 chord, the 2 chord, the 3 chord, the 4, 5, and 6. Okay? Now, eventually, we would like to know all of those chords in that key. You don't have to know that today. We're going to start with the major chords. Now, the major chords are the 1, 4, and 5. So if those of you, if you have your chart in front of you, or you know this stuff, the key of C, for example, is the easiest, for beginners, the easiest key to play in first. And the main reason is there are no sharps or flats. So all you have are open chords. Everything can be played in open chords. Now these chords are numbered. So in the key of C, C would be number 1, right? So there's our C. Now our second would be a form of D, right? But a D minor, not a D major, because it's not a 1, 4, or 5. It's a number 2 chord, so it's D minor. And this applies to every key. The third in the key of C would be an E, right? C, D, E. E would be a minor because it's the 3rd chord. It's not a 1, 4, 5. So we have E minor. Fourth chord would be a D. Now it is a 4 chord, so it's a D major. So far we have in the key of C, C, sorry, I messed that up. Blah. In the key of C, C is the 1st chord, D is the 2nd chord, but it's a minor because it's a 2nd chord, not a 4th. E is the 3rd chord, and its minor is not a 1, 4, 5. F is the 4th chord and a major chord. G is the 5th, so it's major because it's 1, 4, 5. And then A is a minor chord, A minor, because it's a 6. Okay? So if you notice, we were able to play every chord in the key of C in what they call an open position, and that's what we like. As a beginner and in our first 6 months or so, we like that. All right? In order to play a sharp or a flat, you got to go to a bar chord. Okay, so when we look at this chart, C is, which is why we start there, because it's the easy, and it really gets your confidence going because, hey, even though every shape is different, C and F, if you play your F this way, are very close. We just got to move them a couple of strings. It's the same shape. Okay, but everything else is a completely different shape. You might think, oh, that's kind of silly. Yes and no, right? At the end of the day, you'll find it's a lot easier as a beginner to learn your open shape of all the chords in the key of C. All right, now, when we look at this chart, the biggest mistake we can make right off the bat is looking at it all and thinking, I got to learn all that. All right, rest assured, no, you don't have to learn all that, right? You don't have to learn all that. You learn what you need. There's a big difference. So when I started out, okay, I played for over a year before I quit because I didn't get it and I didn't have a strategy. I didn't know what I was supposed to learn. Remember the car analogy? You don't have to know how the engine works to be able to drive your car. Well, I thought I had to know everything about guitar theory, everything about techniques, all these excruciating hard techniques in order. Nobody said, Ray, learn these 3 chords, practice strumming, and you'll be playing songs in a week. Nobody said that to me, so I didn't know, all right? So when we look at a chart like this and we see C minors and B flat majors and F sharps and all that, what is this? Don't worry about this stuff, okay? Let's pick out the open chords, the C, the open keys, or the keys with open chords in them, the C's, okay, the G's, the D's, and let's just look at the open chords in these E's and F's and all that, and learn those, because that's where we're gonna start, right? Okay, 3 chords, and you can write and play all kinds of chords. 4 even better, but you can do it with 3 and you can with 2. Okay? Don't achy breaky heart, I just don't think I'll understand. And you can turn all right, you can do it with 2. Okay, here's another one. On the first day of the journey, I was looking at a river, right? You can play song. Now, Conquest or Carquest, I can't read it from here. Look, the more the better, but that's not what this is about, right? This is about getting started and 4. Now you're into 5 territory. Now you're into combination of open chords and bar chords as well. It's all good, and you will get there. If you're there now, fantastic. A lot of people aren't because they're intimidated by the bar chords, and that's what this is about. When you first start, you look at these charts, pick out the keys that have the most open chords, and learn those open chords from the key. Now, if you haven't done this already, right? Let's say a buddy showed you how to play D, okay? And maybe E, and maybe A. And those chords. And that's all you know, right? Okay. Now you want to get to the point, like you said, you want to learn a 4th or a 5th chord. You want to expand your horizons because, yes, the more chords you know, the more you can play. Simple as that. The more colors you have in your palette, the better the picture that you can paint, right? Okay, so now we have a situation where we know 3 chords, A, E, and D. Expand on that. It's very important that you stay within a key when you expand. Don't just learn cherry-pick chords, because what'll happen is you'll know 2 chords from this key and a chord from that chord from this key, and even though some keys do share their chords, you're going to find that you're kind of all over the place and going nowhere. Because when a song is written, it's written from the keys in that chord. Oh, there are the odd exceptions. Of course, there are chords with or songs with key change in them. We get that. But most of the songs are a key, and they use the 5 or 6 chords from that key to form the whole song, the bridge, the chorus, the verse, the chorus, whatever you want to call it, right? So wouldn't it make sense to know as many chords from the same key as possible? So if you're at that point where you're not a beginner per se, you're still an early guitar player, but you know 3 or 4 chords. Now we got to figure out where to go from here. So here's the example. We know D, we know E, we know A, right? Okay. How do we know which chords to add to that? Well, the first thing we have to do is we have to identify what key those chords are in. So let's take a look at them. We got D, E, and A. So we our chart. Well, is this the key of D? Well, the first chord is a D, but the second chord is an E minor, and we're playing an E major, so we're not in the key of D. Are we in of A? Well, let's see. We got an A, and now we have the 4th chord is a D major. So we have A major, we have D major, and we have E. So yes, we are in the key, right? Now, if this was, say, the key of E, then our major chords would be E, which is good. A got 2 out of 3, but there's not a D. The other major chord is a B, which is a bar chord. And we want to avoid those for now, right? So we now know that we are in the key of D, right? Yeah, we are in the key of D. No, we are, okay. We are in the key of A. Blah. Get confused. So we're in the key of A, all right? So in the key of A, let's see what we can add. We already know A, we already know E, and we already know D. So what would be the next thing to add in the key of A? Well, it would be bar chord, and it would be B minor. Okay? Now, if you wanted to add a C in this key, it would have to be a C sharp minor. You see how it works? You have to stick to the key. If you want to only play open chords, and only open chords, you pretty much have to stick to really the key of C or the key of G. So if we look at the key of G, we have G, A minor, right? Now we skip the B. If we really want to, it'll be a B minor. And then we have our other major chords, which would be C. And so now we have G, A minor, C, D, and E minor. All open chords that we can use. We're only missing that B version, which is the minor chord, right? Right? Always a problem with live shows is you always get idiots coming in. I try to get rid of them, but there's not much you can do. All right, so when you look at a chart like this, okay, don't get overwhelmed because look, are we going to play in G flat? Are you going to play in B flat? Are you going to play in C sharp? For the first, I'm going to go a couple of years, you're probably not, right? You're going to play in keys that have beginner, user-friendly chords. Then what I do, or would do, when I expand my repertoire is learn things as I need them. So for example, the bar chord situation, right? So we have that example in the key of G. So we're in the key of G. We can play all kinds of stuff. That's a very famous chord progression. That's used in thousands of songs, right? But at some point, we may have in the B minor. And with me, that's what happened when I started to learn songs. You do the inner Google, and all of a sudden it was all good because I was learning easy 3-chord songs, C, D, and Gs and Ds and things like that. And then all of a sudden when I wanted to go stretch boundaries a bit, this B minor kept coming up. But that was really the only bar chord. So if I look at the key of G and I learn a B minor, well, now I know all the chords in the G, all the usable chords in the key of G, and all the usable chords in the key of C. Okay? So I set out to learn the, and all I did was, okay, figure out the fingering. Okay, so this is the B minor. Yes, there are other ways to play a B minor, but we're dealing with the bar chords today. So I've B minor fingered. I know what it sounds like. Okay, I want to make sure. Does everything ring out? Sometimes, I mean, you got to be so careful, and the can be confusing because technically what you're doing is barring. You're replacing the nut here. You're moving the nut up. Okay, so basically we're supposed to bar the strings. Now, here we're on the B, which is on the 5th string. We really don't need to bar that open string, but a lot of people will nudge up to it so that it's muted, so that if you hit it by mistake in your strum, it's not going to be too awkward. There's my B minor. So the first thing I do is I make sure I get it down right? I get that thing down there like that, make sure I got it. So now I got it. There it is. Is it like that? Is it like this? Right? You got to go through all this. You got to figure it out. Where's my B minor? Is it here? Is that it right there? Okay. There it is right there. There's my B minor. Sounds pretty good. I got the strings are ringing out good. All right? So now I can start strumming it. All right, so here's my B minor. Now, at this point, I don't call this knowing or knowing the chord. To me, I call it when you can transition to and from that chord, you know the chord. So for example, if I know how to play C, and I know how to, let's see, D, play me a D. Okay, I got it right here. There's a D. All right. You know what they are. But in order to say you play them, in my books, you got to go C, D. Now I can play those two, can say that I play those two chords. So the same thing when you learn your first bar chord or the B minor, right? So I got my B minor. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the B minor with every other before and after, to and from, every other chord in that key. So we look at the list and we have a G. So I'm going to go B minor to G, back to the B minor. And what's the next one? Minor, A minor, B minor, A minor, B minor. What's after the B minor? We got a C. Okay? And so on and so forth. So you read your chart and you go across the 6 chords so that you can play the B minor before and after the other 5 chords, right? And then, and only then, can you say that you know all the chords in G. So now we know not only all the open chords in C and G, but with the addition of the B minor, now we know 2 keys all. Okay? Now, as you move on through the chart, you're going to go to either the key that comes up more often when you're looking at songs. It could be D. It could be E. If you're a blues person, it's probably E. It could be A, or whatever that is. So if we look at A, right, we have A. Then the second chord in A is going to be a B, right? Well, the 2 chord, we go through this again, B minor. And then the third is a C sharp minor. Okay, so really it's a B minor. Okay, if we move it up 1, it's now E minor. If we move it up another 1, it's C sharp minor. Okay, but it's the same fingering as a B minor. So now you've learned your first bar chord, B minor. And the thing with chords is they are movable shapes. So we got a B minor. If we move it up 1 fret, that's half step, we go to the next on the list. So B minor to C minor. But we're going to go 1 more to C sharp minor. So now we know 2 bar chords. Okay? Now if we look at our next in the key of A, we're going to have a D. Now we're a regular D. And then the next one will be a regular E. And we even have an F sharp minor, like this. So now it's getting difficult, because now in that key alone, we got 3 bar chords, right? You see how it's working? So it's important not to get crazy. Learn your basic bar chords that you need at the beginning, that keep coming up on the inner Google. Whenever you want to learn a song and whenever you want to learn a new song, you'll see it. It'll keep popping up. Oh, it's got a C sharp in it, or a B minor, or an F sharp minor. Okay, those are the first I learned, B minor and the F sharp minor, because every song that I was Googling after the typical 3 chord basic versions of songs, or campfire songs, or you know, 50, 60-year-old folk songs and things like that, country songs, a lot of 3 chord songs. Then all of a sudden I started realizing, okay, I got to learn a bar chord. It was the B minor. Then it was the F sharp minor. Okay? So these are things that stop us from getting overwhelmed, because like the trick to learning the guitar, I mean, it's not But you have to learn. It's how you go about learning it. Because what happened to me, and maybe a lot of you out there, is for the first, all I was doing was picking out and learning these incredibly difficult things, whether it's playing bar chords or certain scales, or next thing I know, I'm learning about triads. Like, what am I doing? I've been playing a few months and I'm trying to learn triads and things like that. And without guitar theory, with kind of theory, it's almost impossible, right? Hi, Pietro. But, you know, it's just something that can be overwhelming. So here I am every day picking up my guitar and trying to play chords, and I'm not very good because I didn't spend enough time on it. I always want to be moving around because I got new things to learn. So I try something for a while, something else. I'm not very good at that, so I don't sound good. Then I try something else, and I'm not very good at that, so I don't sound good. And then you don't realize it, but then day after day, you're just like, I suck. Yeah, I do. It's terrible, right? And that weighs on you. That gets into your brain. And then it starts getting into your confidence. And then it's like, oh, yeah, you know what? I'm 50 years old. I knew there's a reason I did this. I shouldn't. This is for young whippersnappers. This is for people that were born with it, right? That's what goes through your head. But it's not the case. My problem, and maybe for many of you out there, I didn't know what I was supposed to learn, and I didn't know how to learn it, and I didn't know what order to learn it in. Now, that will vary depending on the player, but for most of us, think about it. We want to learn guitar so we can sit around playing some of our favorite songs. That's all we want to do, okay? So the quicker that we learn how to do that, now the opposite's happening. Now we're starting to feel, we only know chords, but boy, are we ever playing these chords right? And my strumming's coming along, I'm learning some strumming patterns, and I'm doing really good. So what does that do? Even though anything else, I used to, when I was at that stage in my playing, and I would go out and I would watch bands and guitar players, because that's what you do when you're learning, right? You want your right into it. And they would be playing these chords, like they'd be playing here, they'd be playing this. I'm like, what are they doing? Well, they're playing different forms of chords, like playing triads and all that stuff. And I was so intimidated, right? I didn't know what the heck they were doing. I know now, but I didn't know then. So it's always in your head that you're not supposed to be doing this because you don't know what you're doing and you're not going to be any good at it. So by reversing it, for me, the third time that I tried to teach myself and finally succeeded, I didn't pay attention to anything with a sharp or a flat, okay? That's the first rule. For me, I learned about a capo earlier on, so I would look for versions of that same song that I could play with a capo and allow me to use chords that I already knew. Now, for those of you that are advanced watching this and you're going to say, oh, well, people to be lazy and you got to learn or you're never going to, you're right, but you're not right, okay? Remember, we all have a different reason for playing our guitar, and if it means me using a capo to play chords that I know so that I can sit there and make a song sound the way I want it to sound and sing along and have fun and be creative and soothe my soul and entertain others, I'm going to use the capo every time, okay? And remember, that's not the only reason to use a capo. The fact is, a lot of artists use a capo because they like the voicing of, say, the G played on the second fret, which is really an A, but that sounds, and it matches their voice better. Or there might be some open notes that can play that wouldn't be there if the capo wasn't there. Right? So there's lots of reasons to use a capo. The best, Tom Petty, the Emmanuel dude, that's the big classical guy. Everybody. You look at bands, especially if there's multiple guitars in the band, someone will be using the capo. Hammer-ons and pull-offs. Yeah, that's something a technique that we'll get into later on that definitely helps. That's a left technique, meaning a fretting hand technique, that helps get a different sound out of your chord. So you're absolutely right. It's something that we generally pick up later on because a C has properly in the proper form before it can be, in my opinion, embellished to sound better or different, right? So we got to learn it first. But you're right. By taking a C, just doing something like that, right? Or it might be a D. We dab that pinky. Things like that that we can do to enhance our chord playing, right? But for now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to fill out our chord repertoire the best that we can, right? And the easiest that we can, that's easy on our confidence. What I would recommend when you look at a sheet like this, okay, disregard the E flats and the D flats and the C sharps and the B flats, because as a beginner, as a first year, even 2 year, you probably, heck, I know people who have been playing 20 years and don't play a B flat or have no idea what the key of E flat is and what notes or what chords are in it. And it's never been an issue, okay? So I use these charts simply to fill out what you already know. So if you already know the major chords in the key of C, F, G, then I would use something like this to learn your D minor, your E minor, and your A minor. Now you know all the chords, C, that you're ever going to need to play tens, if not 50,000 songs, all right, in all genres, okay? Yeah, so, okay. Question is, right, so if I'm not sure if I'm understanding your question, but I use a form of arpeggios all the time in my chord playing or in my everyday open chord playing. It's, I've always told people, and I am going to do a segment on this fully, and it'll be under something like augmenting your strumming or little things you can do like hammer-ons and pull-offs and things with your right hand. And that would be one of them, but only give you some insight here of what works for me. That really elevated my playing. So up until I did that, I was a strummer, various strumming patterns, right? Okay. Then I started to pick out the individual notes. The easiest way to remember this or get started, okay, is think of it this way. I can play any note, any string that's part of the chord. Now, your notes aren't sounding right. To me, that sounds like it's a fret issue. Your fingers, whatever reason, are not in the right position. Now, when we fret a note or we fret a chord, we're generally told, get up on your fingertips so that the rest of your finger doesn't come in contact with any other strings in the chord and thus sort of buzzing them or muting them. The other thing is, ideally, you want to get your fingers close to the fret, but not right on the fret. And even that can be argued. There are people that play right up to the fret like where you like literally think it's going to buzz and it doesn't. So what I mean, where I'm going with this is it could be that you're not fretting your chord properly, right? Like you got to make sure first that fretting your C chord, let's say, before you attempt to play any of the individual strings. So if they don't ring out here 5 strings, then there's a good chance the same is going to happen if you just pick an individual string, okay? So I'm not sure if that's the issue. The rule of thumb is that I've always gone by is if in a C chord, for example, there are 5 strings. Remember, we're told to play 5 strings. That means that I can play any of those strings by themselves within the chord. So I still fret that C chord, okay? But now I can play in order, anything. I can play any of those strings in any order, and they will all sound good. It will depend on me and the practice I put in to determine which strings to play. I might do something like this in my C. I'm going to put my pinky down on the 3rd fret of the G, or the G note, the 3rd fret of the E. Now, in no particular order, I'm only playing individual strings here, and they're all, and I'm making a little melody. Okay? When I move to the D chord, I'm going to do the same. But now, I can only use these 4 chords, because there's 4 strings, because there's only 4 strings that make up the D chord. So I can't play strings 6 and 5, right? Okay. To the C, to the D, a little bit of strumming, a little bit. Okay? Now, so I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about here, but as far as if you're happy with the individual notes you're getting out of your broken chord, arpeggiating, which is what that means, is playing the individual notes or strings of a chord like it's broken. That's what is that you might be in the act of arpeggiating, you might be moving your fingers, you might be brushing a string, right, which will give it like a dead sound. So I'm not sure if that's the thing, but remember, you're only supposed to play the strings that are involved in the making of that chord. So when you're playing the G chord, you can use all 6 strings. When you're playing the E major chord, you can use all 6 strings. But again, C is only 5, A minor would be 5, and D would be 4. Okay? So, and we are going to do right hand, making your chords sound good. We're going to do all that in another show, because we could get into that for well over an hour. Yeah, sure. Chucking or muting is definitely a cool technique. It usually comes, which again, a lot of you are there already. It usually comes after you've been playing for a while and that you have basically mastered the playing of your open chords. Okay? What I always suggest, and what worked for me, was when I really started to make advances, was exactly this, was when I realized how important my right hand is. Okay? So the right hand is what makes music. The left hand is doing what you did day one. C, D, G, E, A, D, or whatever the chords that you're learning day one, okay? You're going to play those chords, for the most part, the same way in year 10 as you did on day one, right? So, no, it doesn't hurt, but it's a good point, because as I show you, yes, you could. Absolutely. If you have a very high-end, possibly fragile instrument, I mean, I'm not saying you're going to break it, but yeah, I would think you could, maybe if it was a continuous thing, you could. But hear me out here and let me show you what that is. Now, basically, there's a chuck, basically. And a lot of times we use a chuck, don't want to play anything. So you might be playing, I wrote my horse to come to your farm, and I wanted to see your cows. When I got there, the horse was gone and no one was around. I don't know. So in that case, you're not going to do any damage, okay? But you're chucking and muting the strings. But when you chuck, you're doing it so fast. So a mute would be what I just did, where you're actually just touching the strings, but still playing them. So you don't get any ringtone. You don't get any tonic coming out of them. It's just a dead sound that we use sometimes when you're counting. 4, 3, 2, 1. We can use it that way, okay? But no, it's not going to hurt. Now, if you start pounding on anything, well, I think the worst that could happen is maybe your bridge or saddle might adjustment every 6 months, or I've never had it happen. I use a lot of palm muting, so I mute with this hand, right? So what I do is if I want to kill something, I usually kill it from here, right? All right, Roland, that's a really good question. Half of the battle here is what to practice. And this may or may not help, because I don't know where you are in the journey. But I can tell you the difference for me was when I started, played a year each time, quit both times because I was no good. I was going nowhere, okay? One of the reasons is I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know how to practice. So the third time when it worked for me, here's what I did, okay? I went all the way to basics. I went all the way back to what do I know how to do? Not what I want to know how to do, not what I do only half-assed, not what I'm not good at. What do I know how to do on the guitar? What comes natural? Now, I stripped it down and I realized, for me, that I was good at playing C, D, and G. And my strumming wasn't the greatest as far as variations of strumming patterns, but I could play those 3 chords, and I could play songs like Brown Eyed Girl and what's that song? The Do Run Run, and you know, I started learning songs like stuff like that, simple songs, right? Okay. So what I did was every day I would pick up my guitar, forget bar chords, forget triads, forget fancy fingering and all that. Stick to what you know and make it amazing, right? Make it the best it can be. In my case, it was 3 chords. And I just played them. And always. Then, as soon as I could do that, I looked up every song I thought I knew in G, C, or D. Started using the songs to further my right hand, because it's your right hand that makes music, right? It's your left hand just does the framework, presses the right strings, but this is the hand that turns this into right? I think you guys get that. My tip would be figure out what you want to do, like on the guitar, and then practice getting there. So if your goal is to be able to learn a variety of songs using open chords, and what I would do is I would take groups of 3, and if you can, 4 chords, Make sure they're grouped together in the right keys. Use your chart to make sure that you're in the right key, right? And practice playing those chords endlessly and forget everything else. Just play those chords. And then little by little, before you stop doing that and saying, okay, now I want to learn how to play bar chords. Yay! You know, I want to learn scales. Oh, let's start with a minor pentatonic. I'm going to learn that. Don't do any of that. You're not there yet. And even like I did, you learn your scale, you don't know what to do with it, you don't know what the notes are, you don't know anything. Forget it. Stay with your 3 or 4 chords that you know. Practice them and practice them and practice them. Then add a 5th chord, like we talked about. And so basically the theory of this, small, and expand on things that you already know. Add little tidbits of things bit by bit. Now all of a sudden you're adding, as we talked about, your B minor, or your C sharp minor, or whatever it is, your B flat. Start adding that into your repertoire. So I would look at, say, the key of G, which we've talked about already. There's only one bar chord. It's a B minor. I'm going to learn that, right? And then you might look at the key of D and say, okay, what do I know? I know the D, I know the G, and I know the A, and I know the B minor. So now I just got to learn E minor, F sharp minor, and I'm good to go. Right? Right, Tim, sorry, I didn't reply earlier. Yeah, you're right, okay? You can go a long way without knowing all this free stuff, okay? But you're going to rely on someone to tell you, like the inner Google or someone on YouTube. You're going to rely on those people or that thing because you can't figure it out on your own. You don't know what chords to play or whatever. But if you have some form of a chart like this, it shows you all the chords. So little by little, you can start piecing it together, much like your fretboard. Now, a lot of you aren't there yet, okay? Me, I mean, can I go, all right, I'm looking for a C sharp. Could I go here and say, there it is? Well, look, I was close, but I'm on a fret. I don't know my fretboard, but when I'm playing and I'm looking down, right, I know it. Because I learned it organically. I learned it from playing, as opposed to when I the piece of paper, the 6 lines, all the notes. Give me a test, I get 100%, no problem. Pick up my guitar, put a backing track on, or sit in front of people with the lights on, and I can't find one note because it's not a piece of paper laying flat the strings and the lines on it. You're best to learn in the environment that you're going to play in and use, right? So for me, that's sitting here or standing and playing. Okay, now I know what I'm playing. I know that's a C, and I know that's a D, and there's my F and G, because I've looked and seen the dots, and you just, after so many times. That's why I don't like doing the 5-7, 5-8, 5-7, 5-7 thing. I hate that. Now, I suppose it's good as an entry point to get you learning scale, shape, and stuff like that. But for me, it just didn't. And I don't understand how anyone can use that because you don't know what you're playing. And the whole idea of knowing a bit of theory is knowing your notes. It's so important. And knowing your key and being able to play notes in a certain chord and in a certain key. And it's not hard. In fact, you'd be surprised how easy it is. But it's very intimidating because we don't really have one way of learning it. We're all different. But for me, I just remembered that this here was a G, okay? I don't know why. Dot, when I look down, that dot looks like it's right on under that string, even though it's in the middle. But at that angle, there's that dot. And that dot is a G. And I know from theory that 2 frets up is going to be an A, right? Because That's how it works. 2 frets up from there will be a B. So now I know that that's a G, okay? That's A, and that's a B. G, A, B. Okay? Great. So what? You're right, so what? But then pick up my guitar, I know that that's a G, that's an A, and that's a B. All right, what's under that? Well, there's another dot right here. I'm on the dot, right? C, 2 frets up is a D, and 2 frets up is an E. Okay. C, D. Now I know G, A, B, C. Hey, I'm making some kind of a melody here, right? And everywhere on the guitar is the same. So there's my G, right? We know that, G. 2 frets up is a D, just like it is here. Or an A, sorry, just like it is here. G, A, G, A, C, D, D, D. So now everywhere I look, when I see a G right here, I know that that's going to be a C. I don't even have to look. That's going to be a CD. G, A, C, D. G, A, C, D. Okay? It doesn't happen overnight. But that's how you organically learn. So the same thing will apply to what we're talking about today, which is learning our chords within a key. Right? There's only 3 chords I know, say, in certain keys. My goal is to learn all 6, one at a time. So, again, in this case, let's say it's G. I know that there's a G and an A minor and a C. G, A minor, C. But I want to add in my B minor. So when I practice, slip that B minor in now. Now I'm going to just keep going. Okay? What I've done is slowly added, it's like cooking, right? I'm stirring some ingredients, add a little flour, keep stirring, add an egg, keep stirring, add some seasoning, keep stirring. That's the same approach I took to the guitar playing, right? Yeah, Jeff, a lot of chords, yes, absolutely. As we talked about a little earlier, keys share chords. You'll see chords pop up in different keys. It's the chords you put around them that determines what key you're in, right? So absolutely. And that's why I always suggest learn the chords in a key first. That's why we tend to gravitate as beginners to the key of C, because it's all open chords. Let's get that out of the way, and there's no shame in it. Hey, if you are a player, right? Yes, there is some strumming. I'm going to do live on this, and I'm going to do more videos, but I do have a video in my library, or a few, about strumming. Absolutely. Strumming and timing, rhythm, using a metronome. I know it can be confusing going through channels looking for videos, but they're there. I try to clean them up. I've kind of got rid of some old videos and stuff, but they're there, all right? So, again, the approach to the practicing, again, depends where you're at, okay? And I don't know that. But wherever you're at, so is part of your practice. If you are already playing bar chords, but maybe you don't know, you're not very good with your A-shaped bar chords, okay? Then that's where you're going to start. You're going to do which is probably your E-based, your E major shapes. Now, instead of just doing this all day, start adding in your C, back to your G, C, back to the G, then go to the A, then your C, and your G. You see what I mean? Add it in slowly. Keep playing what you're good at. And then add the new guy in. Back out, back in, and back out. And then as you build your guitar foundation and you get a little better, the learning curve is like that. So someone could say to you, hey, I want you to learn F sharp over C spaghettiized, whatever the chord is. All you'd have to do, because you're getting so good and confident, is all you have to do is sit down. What's the chord? Okay, so this is the chord I gotta learn? Okay. All right, let's do it. And you work on it for a while, and or two later, or the next day, you're good to go. There's no more, once your guitar foundation, once you got these two hands going together, there's no more learning. The learning is simple. It might take a few hours, a couple of days, but you're in. Not like when you learn at day one and it takes you months to do anything. Okay? So I think, again, it's so under-mentioned where I go, right? And when don't forget, I did what you're doing, is I looked around. I think there was a guy named Marty, and he was great, but a little too above my pay grade. Understand what he was doing, and he didn't really explain it. Now, this is going back, 8 years ago, whatever, or more. And then there was a guy, he's still out and about there. I think they all are at some point. There was a guy, and a little more down, like he talked down a little bit, like he made it, simplified everything, but not enough for me, right? And so I've done all this, okay? And nobody has, hey guys, I just want to let you know, right, what you're getting into. This is an art form to be able to play this instrument at a high level. Most of you, or most of us, I'm included in this, are never going to get there, especially if you started in life, because quite frankly, you won't have enough time. The 10,000 hours and all that applies to every trade, every craft, every art, 10,000 hours. Well, if I'm 67 and I play an hour a day, when are my 10,000 hours up? Well, I'll probably be a little, okay? So people, I don't know if it's because they don't want to you off, but that's only to be at an elite level. We don't have to be at an elite level, and that's what I keep not hearing. All we need to do is play 3 or 4 chords really well. And if we can do that, we can play literally. You bring your capo out, okay? And I learn E, D, G, and A minor, and I just threw those together. This is just spontaneous. And I play my C, G, A minor, D, okay? And capo on. Well, now I'm playing D, A, B minor, E. All right? Put a capo on, say 4, okay? I'm playing E with my C chord, B with my G. You get it? So I can still play those same chords. So here we are, to give you an example. And again, I got to be careful with copyright. Capo 4, chords from the key of C. Here we go. Just a small town, living in a long, right? And the night goes on and on. You know where I'm heading with that. The original song is in the key of E, but if I played that in the key of E, I'd have to know how to play an F sharp minor, a G sharp minor, a C sharp minor. Forget about it. Not happening. Capo on, and I can play. Okay? So, again, we keep it simple at the beginning. Told me that. Nobody told me any of this stuff. That, Ray, all you got to do is learn let's keep it even more simple. Look at your charts, okay? And look at all your major keys, C, D, F, the ones we use, G, A, okay? And only learn the 1, 4, and 5. Those are the major chords within the key. So if I only knew the 1, 4, 5 chord in the key of C, all kinds of stuff. If I only knew it in, I mean, that's all you need. And with those 3 open chords, you can play some basic songs, you can play some good songs, but more importantly, right after, is like 2 weeks into this, your confidence is like, hey, I can do this. You don't know a bar chord, you don't know a triad, you don't know a scale, you don't know a minor chord, you don't know anything. But you could show up knowing 3 chords and play a bunch of songs, and people would watch you and say, hey, guy's pretty good. You're not bad, bud. But they don't know that those are only 3 chords you play. See, nobody told me. I thought I had to know everything before I could play the guitar. Okay? So, look, it's so important that, again, I'm sort of staying with that practice thing that you asked me about, that we practice simple and expand it. Not sit there with knowing anything and go, okay, so today I'm going to learn how to play triads on these 3 string sets right here, because that's how that works. They're playing string sets of 3. Well, that makes no sense to me, because you got to have some theory knowledge. You got to know your fretboard to do that. You got to know your notes. You got to know what's a G chord made of. What's in it? Quick, hurry up, tell me. You probably don't know. And why should you? You're an early journey guitar player. But I thought somehow in my 3rd week, I had to understand and learn that, and mistake. That killed me, that stopped me cold, okay? I know there's people out there that are thinking that too. You don't have to know any of that stuff. Remember my car analogy? Hey, I just want to drive my car to the store and back and go out the odd day. I don't want to race it around a track and be the best driver in the world. Or I don't want to know how to disassemble my engine and put it back together for tomorrow. I don't really care. I'll take it somewhere and have them fix it. So it's the same here. I don't want to know where every note is on the chord right now, because I can't. I don't want to know how to play all my scales, all my modes of scales. I don't know. All I know is that if I play an E and an A, and I play it in different ways, I can play a song. And that's what I want to do. Right? Susanna, you sound like you might be from a European country. Thank you so much, Susanna. Ah, hey, thanks. Try to keep it simple, right? So again, when I started getting better, the practice became, well, more enjoyable. Why? Because I only practiced what I knew how to do, and then I would slowly add that one ingredient in so that I was only sounding bad for a little bit. It wasn't completely gut-wrenching. You know, I used to sit there trying to learn my bar chords, and after an hour, my wrist was killing me, my hands were killing me, my fingers were killing me, and I didn't play it good once. Everything was a buzz and it just drives you down, right? You want to get out of that. So again, wherever you are in your routine, if you know one scale, okay? We all kind of minor pentatonic right here. Okay. Before you learn another scale, like the major scale or the major pentatonic or the blues scale or whatever, it's your knowledge of this, right? So hear me out here. Everybody learns this scale. Great. And then some people get real good and you're shooting back and forth 100 miles an hour. Fantastic. But can you make music with it? What do you mean? I'm doing that. Listen. Listen. Isn't that cool? Look how smooth I am. Fantastic. But it's sick there. So what you need to do before you take on yet another excruciating task that you don't know how to do, take this task and do it well. Make little riffs. Yeah, it's the same notes from the scale that I was playing, but I wasn't playing them in order by the book, the way we're taught to learn them. Right? I'm playing them same notes. Right? I'm making something out of them. When you can start doing that and better, now you can move on. And instead of, again, nobody told me this, instead of being, okay, now I'll learn the major scale. Well, hold on a minute. All you know how to play right now is the A minor pentatonic in the first position. Why are you learning a whole other discipline, a whole other type of scale with a different formula to it? Why are you doing that? Other positions of this, right? So we learn the A minor pentatonic here, which to me is a mistake, and I'll explain in a second. So we learn this, but what we should be learning is, okay, now can I go, if I do this? So I don't know if you caught that, but what I did was I played my A minor pentatonic, and I slid over and put this little box here. You know, why would you do that? Well, because that's called the second position. That's the high end of the second position of the A minor pentatonic. Third position, and a fourth position, and an open position. Oh, I didn't know that. See, that allows us to play that same A minor pentatonic. We can then play that sorry. Here, same notes, different sound. We can then move from here to here to here to here and stay in the key of A minor, A or C. A minor pentatonic or your pentatonics are the same. And that's what we should be learning. Then we go to, because once we learn it in A, it's the exact same thing in B, right? It's the same shape. So instead of starting here and going like, right, we're going to start in B and go like that. So we're still going to have our, the notes are different, of course, but the shape's the same to get those notes, right? So we need to learn at least, say, 3 positions. And open is so important. I just released a video about that, a full-length video explaining why and how to play the open position. Because as beginners, we're playing our G here and our C here and I here. We should take advantage of this. Now we can use it in our everyday playing. How do you use the A minor pentatonic in that first position in your everyday playing if you've only been playing 6 months, 7 months, 3 months, a year? Like, how do you do that? So, okay, so you're playing A minor, C, A minor, C. How do I bring this in? Well, here's one way. Slide over, play a little lick, and then back. Really? Yeah. It's got to be an easier way. See? You're asking the good questions, right? Okay, here's the easy way. A minor, C. We're already here. Oh, wow. playing the same notes as I played here, but I'm playing them here as the scale. And they happen to be right at my fingertips, so now I can continue playing my open chords, and I can do things like this. When I first saw, I'd been playing for probably a year, right? And I was somewhere, and this guy did this. And I'm like, did that ever sound cool? I didn't know how to do that. I tried. It didn't work because even if I knew what to play, I didn't have the finger dexterity yet, right? Because I wasn't practicing that. So I'm like, that's something I want to learn how to do. So I learned how to do walk-ups and walk-downs. So I went, okay, so I go. And that's what got me started. And I did from G to C, C to G, and then, you know, C to D and all that kind of stuff, right? But what I didn't know is, Ray, you're playing the A minor pentatonic. You're playing it here, because nobody ever told me. So, you see what I mean? If I had learned the second position, or the second thing I learned with a scale was this position, now I know one scale, I'm farther off ahead than if I learn all these different scales and don't master any of them. And it's the same with your chords. It's the same with your bar chords. You know, I was zipping through bar chords. Okay, I get it. So if I go like this, hey, I just played 3 chords. Didn't have to change the shape. Wow, bar chords are so easy. Wrong. Okay, because what they didn't tell you is every time you move all the way up the neck, but when you do that, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, you notice how things here sound a little different? They're higher because we're moving up. Strings are shorter. Pitch is higher. So sometimes when you're playing a song or you're playing a chord progression and you have a G here or a C here, right? Then if I go and play a C here, it's different. G, C. Plus, look at all the real estate I gotta cover. Or even if I play it bar here. Bar, bar. I gotta go all the way sliding up. And I'm gonna make them until I get really good. And not only that, the frets start to get closer, so I got to adjust my fingering, or I'm going to play a bad buzz somewhere. So what we need to do is we need to learn a different way to play our bar chords, right? So we need to know the E shape, and then we got to learn our A shape. So instead of going G to C, I'm going to go G to C. It's right there. Just like B minor, F sharp minor. And lo and behold, when you look at a song and it's a B minor, oh, F sharp minor is right there. Or when we're playing a song bar chords and G, C, D, well, check it out. We got G, and we got C, and we got D, all in the same area. We don't have to go all the way up. But that necessitates us learn a whole new shape of our bar chords, how to transition into that shape, and where on the fretboard to play the right chords. So it's not as easy. Don't fall into that trap that, hey, dude, learn bar chords. It's so much easier. You'll be playing an A. I tried it. All I got out of it was a really bad hand, like wrist especially, and the back of my hand used to get so sore that they would be for days sore. Because remember, we got all these muscles here, and when you're doing bar chords, playing them, you're actually squeezing and using these muscles that we don't. So just like when you go to the gym and do this, and then 2 days later, I can't move. Same thing, okay? And you add in the wrist, and for those of us in our 50s and 60s and 70s and even 40s, okay, it can hurt. And we get these repetitive tunnel type injuries, like always having your wrist at a certain angle with pressure, right? So there's all that kind of stuff too to take into consideration. So again, all going back to that first question, keep it to what you know and slowly expand your bubble. Okay? That's how I started to practice. That's when I went, well, nothing really. I mean, I could play a few songs. I could play a few bar chords. I could play some chords. I knew my A minor pentatonic. Whoopee! Didn't know, couldn't use it, but I knew it. That's it. That's all I had. Yet every day I would come out and look in a book and go, oh, today I'm going to learn my inversions of triads. So stupid, right? But when I started saying, okay, hey, I'm a GCD guy, GCD guy, D guy, yeah, and practice those every day, and then brought in my A minor, then my E minor, worked on that, worked on this every day. Next thing you know, I'm playing songs all over the place. Okay? Let's go by. I get back with some buddies on a Thursday night. We're sitting around a basement jamming, and someone goes, Ray, what are you doing, man? Like, what's going on? I go, what do you mean? Like, you're getting amazing. Like, what are you doing? I haven't seen you for 3 weeks. Oh, really? Hey, yeah, thanks, man. You know, because remember, our journey is like losing or gaining weight. You don't notice it because you see yourself every day. And then someone doesn't see you for a while and they go, hey, you lost weight. Or, hey, you're gaining weight, right? Getting jacked, dude. But we don't see that. So when someone doesn't hear you, next thing you know, holy jumping, you sound good. And that's that boost that you need, right? So the best way, in my opinion, to do that is when you've got your 2-3 chords and you know what you're doing and you know them, right away try to start putting those into songs. So look for songs that you know, that you like, that are using those chords that you've learned, or do it the other way around. Start the canvas blank. Okay, what song do I want to play? Oh, I've always wanted to learn how to play Freebird. Okay, Google it, get the chords, learn those chords. Why? Because, well, first of all that stuff we've talked about today is being done for you. You know that the chords are all going to be in the same key, right? Which is essential because it's a song you're learning, so 9 times out of 10 they're from the same key. And you know what? You've already looked through to make sure you pick out a song that's all open chords. Learn those open chords and learn how to play that song. If that's the only song you know how to play it until it shines. And you will believe what that does to your confidence. Then, you know, you're coming into this with a whole different kind of attitude and skill set. And it's called confidence. And that's the thing, or the other thing that no one ever told me when I was starting out. I told you about the one thing about not admitting that it's going to be very hard, it's very difficult, and not telling me that I don't have to know all this stuff, that, oh, coincidentally, they're me in a course. Oh, okay, that's why I got to learn bar chords, triads, and scales, and all these double stops and triple stops, and all these fancy techniques, is because I got to buy your course, and you'll teach all that, right? Okay. I don't mean to, because I mean everybody's got what they got to do, and hey, if I could make all kinds of money doing this, I would do it too. But look, I'm not about that. I'm just saying that what you should have told me is, hey, you don't need any of this fancy stuff. I'm gonna have a course, but you don't need it. All you got to learn is the 1, 4, and 5 chords of every key, and make it simple. Just learn those in, I don't know, D, G, and C. Learn the 1, 4, 5 chords in those 3 keys. And you can play a song, a book of songs like that. Okay? But nobody said that to me. Okay? And the other thing is, this is so mental. It's not all physical, it's mental. At the beginning, it's mental because you're looking for confidence, you're looking for guidance, you're looking for assurance, all that stuff. Then you're going to come into your journey and you get songs and you'll be learning and you're going to be writing songs, you're going to be playing cover songs, be doing gigs, and you still don't know any theory because you really don't have to know theory. We got a chart that'll tell us, right? Hey, there's the chords in the key of E. I don't have to know. Well, why is that? Why is the second chord in the key of E an F sharp minor? Why? I don't care. I just know it is. All right. At some point, you're going to be walking up your journey hill, getting really good, playing gigs, you're all confident, and you're going to come to a gate, and it's locked. And it's like, well, how do I get through the gate? I want to keep going. And someone's going to say, excuse me, son, or young lady, in order to get through this gate, you have to have a key. And in order to get a key, you got to know guitar theory. And that's the reality. You can go a long way using inner Google, playing open chords, playing songs, writing songs. But at some point, to do all those things that for some reason people are trying to teach you in the first 4 or 5 months of, you're going to need theory. You got to know music theory. You got to know, how do I make up a scale? What notes are in a chord? How do I know what notes are in? You got to know all that stuff. What did I just say? Why is F sharp minor the second chord in E? And why is it an F sharp minor in F sharp? Do you know why? Okay, eventually you will have to know why. And those are the guys that you see, that you pay $100 to go and see. To see in your local bar bands, and really good musicians and people that teach the conservatory school of music for whatever. Like, you know all this. You don't have to. You can go along without it. But you can't say that you're a guitar player that has mastered your craft if you don't know these things. Okay. So again, if someone has said to me day one, like I tell people every single day, you don't need that to get where we want to be. Now, what happened with me and what has happened to some of you, happened to many of you here, is you will get to a point that you will say, you know what? I want to learn triads. I'll learn how to play lead guitar using my pentatonic scale. And you'll find that when you want to learn something, when you want to learn and be completely with all your bar chords, and I mean not only knowing them, but being able to play them, again, like we play our open chords seamlessly without buzzing, get a good voicing out of all of your chords. When you want to not do it because, oh God, I gotta learn this bar. What is it again? Okay, this. No, it's this. And then it's that. When you want to do it, you'd be surprised how quick and easy it is. Right? So, okay. Well, look, I think we're off to a okay start. All right? I know, like, a lot of you that have been following me for a while, please understand, I know a lot of this stuff is regurgitated because, well, first of all, we have new people joining us. I know you understand this, but we have joining us all the time. So people today that have never probably seen me on YouTube before or any of that, and they're wondering, hey, what's this guy all about? You got to kind of go through thing all the time. So it can sound a little repetitive. I understand that. But rest assured, I know there are things that we're going to talk about week after week and that we already do in my live shows that, hey, yeah, it's a light bulb moment, or, oh, is that what it is? I already do that. Oh, is that what I'm playing? And again, that happened to me. When I started playing what I call the Ray scale, okay, we're going to go into that the day we talk about notes and licks and things like that and playing guitar. But I started playing here. And I thought, wow, is that ever cool? Wow, ever neat. I'm going to use that. And then I would slide up, because the Ray scale, my theory is, you can play any note 2 frets apart and 1 string up and down, and you'll always be good. Okay, so what I meant by that is you can go 2 frets. If that sounds good with what you're playing to, I'm not playing anything right now. If I was, and that sounded good, oh yeah, it sounds good, then I can always take that note there, 2 frets up. And then I can go down, right, and do the same thing here and here. Long as I go 1 string at a time, it's all good. And I can come back, and they're all going to sound good over the key of G, something in the key of G. No problem. Okay? So if we take that theory, and I'm listening to something, and I play here, 2 frets apart, up 1 string, 2 frets apart, right? Crossing the border. In fretboard theory on my site, you'll know what I'm talking about. But when you cross the border from the brown strings to the silver strings, and don't worry, we're going to do a show on this, you got to go move 1 fret up or down the guitar to maintain your note structure, or else you're going to sound off. It's just the way that B string is. It's got something to do with the way that's tuned on the guitar. Okay? And we'll get into that at a later date. For now, you have to trust me. So I started doing this. You know, all these little licks and riffs using those notes here. Well, I didn't know this I find out that all this time I had been playing in the high octave of the 2nd position of the A minor pentatonic. But if he'd have told me that and made me learn it, I'd be like, oh, that's too complicated. Doing it and it sounds good. And well, the reason it sounds good, the reason you do anything and it sounds good, I don't have to know what, I know what they are, but I don't have to know what those notes are I just played. You know that they sound good. Okay? Well, if I analyze it and look at them, I'm going to find out why they sound good. Because 9 times out of 10, they're from a certain scale. And when you have a scale, whether it's penta, 5 notes, or the major scale is 7 notes, or I think the blues has an extra note in there, there's a reason. And you got to play only those notes. And there's a reason it's called that scale, of minor pentatonic, A minor pentatonic. So you can play 5 notes, penta, 5. And those notes are A, C, D, E, and G. And that's it. Well, when I was playing my box without no chord, once I found out I'm playing in the pentatonic, I'm like, well, wait a minute. Okay, let's see what I got here. C, D, G, A, E. The 5 notes of the pentatonic. Why that little box always sounded so good. You see? So a lot of you out there are already doing some of these advanced things. You don't know what they're called. And you don't know how to add on to it to make it. So in other words, I play this. That's great. But is that all I'm going to do? What do I do now? Well, with a little mental application, I can, because I now know that that's part of the minor pentatonic, I can go like this and slide back into the open, or the first position. Play those notes. I'm still playing only A, C, D, but I'm playing them here, and I'm going to slide over and play them here. Now, if you get all those notes that I'm playing, they're only A, C, D, E, and G. Okay? So without knowing it, I was playing in the 2nd position of the pentatonic. You know, without knowing it, I'm playing another scale with those four, or playing those four notes from another scale without realizing it, because they sounded good. All right, they sound good. Why do they sound good? Well, because they're from the so-and-so scale. That's why. Okay. So today I just wanted to sort of shed a little bit of, hopefully, the goal here today was to, as you asked, how do I practice? Well, if we use that chart that I put in the community tab, and for those of you wondering what I'm talking about, if you go to my page and you hit the community tab, you'll see a chart, and it's a handy chart. You could print it off, I guess, and it'll show you this is the key, C, and here's the chords in that key. This is D, this is D whatever, D flat, here's the chords. Here's D flat major, here's the chords. You can look at this chart, but don't be overwhelmed and think, I gotta know all those chords. Oh my God, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, oh my God, there's 10, 70 chords? No. You might have to know 20, of which you probably already know half. Okay? You might not even need to know 20. You probably need to know, honestly, probably 8 or 10, and you'll find out that you'll end up playing maybe 12. You'll end up playing those same 12 notes in different ways in different keys. They're all interconnected. So again, take it line by line and prioritize the ones that work that you need today. So in other words, if you want to learn Brown-Eyed Girl, right, or any GCD song, DAG, AED song, if you want to go to the key that you want. So go to the key of D and first learn the major chords. So in the key of D, I got to learn D, G, and A. Of E, I got to learn E, A, and B. But B's a bar chord. Which I have a good few tips for that, but I may skip that for now. So let's go to the key of G. G, C, and D. That's a good one, right? What am I saying? Start there. Don't worry about learning C sharp minor or G sharp minor or B flat major or A7. Don't worry about those chords right now. Right? So again, get the community chat tab and check out what I'm talking about and pick out which ones. And as someone mentioned, I think it might have been Randy earlier on, or Jeff mentioned that you'll notice that there's chords. Oh, wait a minute. There's an A major in the key of D, and there's a major in the key of A. See? Some keys share chords, right? So once you learn, when you get up to learning 3 or 4 or 5 chords, you'll go to another key and you might realize, oh, wait a minute. Oh, 2 of those chords are in this key. I only have to learn 1 more, and I got 3 open chords in that key, or the 1, 4, 5 in that key, or whatever. And then as you get, for practice tips, as you get good with those core open chords and strumming them and transitioning them, now you can get a little more adventurous. Throw in an A minor. Throw in this F. Don't go with the bar chord right away. Play your F this way, which is C. Keep the first finger here on that first fret, which is a C note. Okay? And just move the back finger 1 string, and there's your F. Yeah, you can have a pinky and it's an F7 or something. Don't worry about it. It's an F. C. G. Okay? F, C, G. D, A, G. Practice those threesomes, the 3 major chords, usually the 1, 4, 5 chord, right? And this chart has everything numbered, which is the number 1, the number 2, the number 3. It even in Roman numerals tells you if it's a minor or a major if you forget which ones are which, because the major chords are in big Roman letters and the minor chords are in the lowercase. So instead of 2, it's like 2 dotted I's for 2 instead of 2, right? So it tells you it's a minor. The 1, 4, 5 are Roman numeral 1, V1, and V. So it tells you right there. And some you'll find it just says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in regular numbers, right? So you can send me questions anytime, and I've offered this. My email is in the channel description. I know when I go on YouTube, I very rarely read people's channel descriptions. Channel description is important because it tells you about what to expect from the channel. And then there could be things like, there could be some cool products. Some people sell merch. In my case, what do you see? You see my address. Yeah, that's where I was going with this. And you're more than welcome to send me to a Dropbox or something. If you want me to watch you play, no problem. Okay. Post a little thing and can maybe give you a little bit of, hi, Graham, how are you? Yeah, everything's going good, buddy. You're welcome to send me anything. I've had many people send me stuff. They just 30 seconds, check it out. And if I see anything that maybe I can spot, I'll also be posting this later when I get it finalized, but I also may be taking on some, if anybody's interested, any one lessons using Zoom or Skype or the Apple version, whatever it's called, FaceTime. That could be something, if there's any interest, I'd be more than happy to do one-ons or just, I don't really call them lessons. I'm not a guitar teacher, okay? I'm just somebody like you that wanted to learn the guitar and, well, went through hell and back doing it and learned a lot, not what to do, but what not to do. And that's what I'm sharing with you. Just like it says in the channel description. There's so many things that you need to know about how to go about this. So again, back to that, how do I practice? Well, you practice things that you can use that will help you tomorrow, right? Embellish and work on things that you already know, make them better. Then slowly but surely add in things that right now will help you. So what I mean by that, word on the street, you're welcome. What I mean by that is, just like we've been talking about, if you're learning songs using open chords, why in the world do you want to start learning the Mixolydian mode of the Pentatonic whatever? Well, why? It's not going to do you, and it's well above your pay grade. So why would you want to do that? Instead, if you are playing 3 chords and you want to keep expanding on your song repertoire, then instead I'd start learning and adding to my open chord library. Use the chart so that you can sort of figure out which keys you know 3 or 4 chords from. So if I already know G or C, F, and G in the key of C, okay, and I want a little variety, then what I might do is I'd say, okay, let's go to the key of G. Well, I already know G, right? So in the key of C, there's C, F, G, and I already know that. But I want to expand horizons. So I see that there's different keys that songs are written in. And one of them is G. I see that all the time. Oh, this song is in the key of G. All right, so let's go to the chart. We look at G. What chords that I know? Oh, G. I already know that because that's in C. And then I go to C, and I go, well, I already know that chord because that's in C. D. So all I got to learn is D. Right? Now I know G, C, D in the key of G. And then I can go C, F, G, and that's in the key of C. So now I can play major chords in 2 keys. And then I need, you know where I'm going with this, is I go to the key of D. And I see that the first major chord is obviously D. Well, I know that now. And then the second one is G. Well, that because it's in the other 2 chords. And now all I got to learn is an A. Now I know the major chords in 3 keys. So all of a sudden, my potential song repertoire as an early beginning guitar player just tripled. So instead of now having access to a couple thousand songs, I could probably now play 10,000 songs spread out with those keys and the chords that are in those keys. I know them. Okay? Then I would think, okay, how do I add intelligently to each key, the repertoire? So I'd look at C and I'd go, okay, when I Google songs, what comes up? And I just kind of see what comes up. And a lot of times it might be E minor, right? We talked about that. Or it could be A minor. I would add that to my, right? And then, you know, you go to the key of G and you think, oh, wait a minute. The second chord is an A minor. And I've already learned the A minor because it's in C as well. Oh, boy. See how fast all your boxes fill up with the most easy, basic, open chords. Now, I'm going to tell you this. If you were to stop right there, okay, knowing, let's say, 3 open chords in those 3 keys, G, C, and what else did we do? We did D, right? And you didn't learn anything on guitar. Just there. You stopped. Nothing else mattered. Oh, that could be a song. Right? And you stopped. Well, you can play now the rest of your life. You can entertain at campfires, your kitchen parties. You can do gigs. You can play thousands of songs. You would never have to learn another thing on the guitar if you didn't want to. Still entertain people. You could write songs. You could do all of that stuff. Okay? So let's not get carried away. And I tell people this all the time. Let's not get carried away thinking we got to know all this stuff that we see our heroes do on stage. Well, those people have spent life perfecting that. And you're thinking you could step in 5 months and do that? No. Sorry, I don't care who you are. It's not going to happen. There's just too many things that go into this craft. Okay? So let's keep that in perspective, guys. All right? All right, as usual, thank you so much. I hope, you know, a lot of it is not what I show you because, I mean, this stuff's available anywhere. A lot of it is how you use it, and a lot of it is realizing that you don't need to know half of the stuff or more that's out there pushed at you every day. Buy my course. I'll teach you how to do that. Buy this course and how to do that, but only if you buy that course. Maybe you don't do that, you can't do this. And if you don't know how to do that, well, you're not a guitar player, and that's just a load of crock. That's all marketing. That's all whatever it is. All you need to know, and I prove this every day, is you need to know 3 chords from a key. Probably the 1, 4, 5, but the 6th chord is always good too. Is usually an E minor or an A minor or maybe a D minor. But that's all you need is some open chords. And understand that, split them into groups related to their key, which you're going to learn from this chart or any chart that's available out there. Perfect those chords every day. The average person that knows nothing about guitar and music and they listen to you play, they're going to think you are a superstar. And when you feel that way, man, you can learn anything. So, again, about the practice thing, that's where you start. Start right at the beginning. And any of you golfers out there, there's 1,000 ways to learn how to play golf. Strategic around the golf course, the way you swing the club, the way you hold the club, the way you address the ball, the way you putt, the way you chip. Every way of doing it. Right? But it's very rarely said or told or taught that, hey, you want to be a good golfer? I can make you a good golfer. All you got to do, start at the and work out. Right? Now, for those of you that don't know what I mean about, know anything about golf, what I mean is the end result of golf is sorry, we'll let that. The end result of golf is to put the ball in the hole. So start there. Start putting the ball. Then start chipping the ball onto the green so that you can putt the ball. Then start a longer iron from the fairway to get your ball around the green so that you can chip it onto the green so you can putt it in the hole. Then go back to the tee and hit the ball, and so on. The guitar is the exact same thing. Start with what you need to play a song, which is basic open chords. Learn those open chords, learn how to transition between those open chords, learn how to finger them, how to make everything sound sweet. And then start adding things to make those songs a little more less basic and more intermediate. And then start notes and playing little notes in between your chords, right? Then start playing lead guitar, and then start playing. You get the point. But if you didn't do anything other than learn a few, you are set for life. All right, and that's what we're going to do every week. We're going to learn about easy techniques that we can bring into our playing that will make us better guitar players. But if you don't do anything, learn a few open chords, you are set for life. You won't be on stage at Madison Square Garden anytime soon. And, well, that goes for about the other 12,000 of us, right? So, all right, again, who I am. I got a channel here. If you like what you see, think I can help, please hit the subscribe button. You'll get notified of all my live shows. There are 2 scheduled every week, plus I jump on randomly. You will also, hopefully, to support the channel, comment to those and do the like thing and all that. It all helps. It all tells YouTube that I might be a somebody, even though we all know that I'm a nobody. What are you going to do? I'll see you beginners Tuesday at 2 p.m. Bring your questions and your guitar. We're going to start right from the beginning, okay, and work our way up. And Tangjam Hermachandra. Unfortunately, I don't play songs in these because it trips the copyright, and I either have to go back and delete the video or edit it out, or I can't remember. There's a bunch of stuff that I got to do, and so I don't play cover songs on these shows because it will trip. But again, if you subscribe and you get notified, come on live all the time to play songs. And I do it for 2 reasons. 1, because I like doing it. But 2, is to show everybody out that I practice what I preach. And you will see me play songs, cover songs, my own songs, and you'll never see anything fancy, nothing complicated, nothing crazy. The craziest I get, bring in a capo and play a B minor. Ooh, can you feel the craziness? So I do it to show you that that's all you need, right? Okay, everybody, we will see you soon. Enjoy your 12 notes. like that last bit there. I don't like that note there either. So I'm going to just go right here. That's better. See you, Graham. Again, even though we're not there yet, we haven't talked about notes, nothing fancy, right? And we're gonna get there.